How you doing? I'm Paul Jennings. I'm the minister of Stockport Evangelical Church, and I thought I'd just share a few thoughts with you about fasting. It's one of those doctrines that's very much neglected, I think, in the church today. I just wanted to read you some things that Jesus says about fasting in Matthew chapter 9 verse 14. It says this: "Then came to him the disciples of John," that's John the Baptist, "saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast oft, but thy disciples fast not? And Jesus said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast." So Jesus is saying they don't fast at the moment because the bridegroom, that is himself, is with them, but there will come a day, there will come a time when they shall fast. And I find it incredible that there are people, Christians today, who don't fast, because to me, just taking the plain meaning of the words there, they shall fast, sounds to me effectively that is a commandment from the Lord Jesus. You know, for example, if I said to my son, you shall put your coat on, I don't expect him to turn around and say, but you know, if I don't want to put my coat on, does that mean that I don't have to do it anymore? Of course he has to do it. And it's the same with Christians today. If the Lord Jesus has said you shall do something, then it sounds to me like a commandment of Christ. So why don't Christians, or many Christians, fast? Well, I've heard very similar arguments over the years, and basically it usually breaks down into these: either they find it too difficult, or it makes them feel unwell, they get headaches, they feel sick, or perhaps they say, well, when I fast all I can think about is food. And I've even heard one person say, well, I feel ill when I fast, and I don't think that glorifies the Lord Jesus. Well, I think that if you're obeying the commandments of Christ, what better way to glorify him? You know, Jesus himself said that it's a measure of the love that you have for him that you obey his commandments. If you love me, obey my commandments. So I don't really accept those arguments. And the people who don't fast, the Christians who refuse to fast, what they don't seem to realize is that those who do fast also find it difficult, that they also might suffer from headaches, nausea, and so on, and yet they think it's more important to obey the commandments of Christ than to obey their own flesh. And you know, of all the things that religions ask of us, is it really so hard to go for a little time without food? I mean, Christianity is not asking you to walk across broken glass on your knees, or to put your feet in hot coals, or to pierce your body with sharp spears. I mean, it's not asking a lot just to do without food. But the problem is, here in the West, we're so used to obeying the commandments of our flesh that it takes us by surprise that Jesus asks us to do something that is against what the flesh wants. We're so used to, we're hungry, just pull into a McDonald's drive-through, or just open the fridge and get something to eat. Whereas in the larger part of the world, maybe they'll have one meal during the day and that's all they'll have. And so they're used to going without food. There are many benefits to fasting. You know, there are health benefits, the detoxification of the body being one of them, but there are even greater spiritual benefits. You see, learning not to do what your flesh wants when it wants it is very useful to a Christian. It means that you're not always giving into your flesh. Your flesh is hungry. You know, do you always give into it? Always say, well, I have to eat something now. My flesh says eat, I've got to eat. You know, or my flesh says sleep, so I'm going to miss the evening meeting. Or my flesh says fornicate, so I'm going to go and have an affair. you have to get used as a Christian to saying no to your flesh, to saying that Christ is your master and not your own flesh. How would it seem if we were to say, well, if I was to say, well, I once tried resisting temptation, but I found it really difficult, I found it really hard, so now I don't try and resist temptation. Now I just give in to it and I just sin because that's much easier for me. That's not as difficult for me. What kind of argument is that? Yes, fasting can be difficult and hard, but is the Christian life to be without hardship? Jesus says they shall fast. Sounds effectively to me like a command of Christ. So I want to encourage you, if I can, if you've never fasted before, to try it. Just some practical tips. Whilst you're doing without food, you may want to carry on drinking. Some people abstain from both liquids and food, but you might, if you're trying it for the first time, you might want to drink liquids. It's probably good to drink water, just something simple like that, and drink it more often than you would normally, because you're not getting any kind of liquid from food, so you might have to drink more than you would normally do. You might feel slightly weaker, so perhaps don't try and do as much as you would do if you've been eating normally. And you might want to combine it with prayer, since I found that the most effective, praying and fasting together. If you're still finding it difficult, you can pray throughout the day, miss your breakfast, miss your lunch, and then finish at tea time and have your tea. And there's all different ways to do it, but Jesus says they shall fast. It's really good for you to take control over your flesh instead of always being at the beck and call of your flesh, always doing what it wants when it wants to do it. You'll find that it will pay dividends in the Christian life. You'll be able to overcome temptation more easily because you're used to saying no to your flesh. So that's fasting. Let's stop making excuses. Yeah, it might be difficult, it might be hard. Yes, you might feel ill, you might feel sick, and so on, but the more you do it, the more regularly you fast, the more you'll get used to it. Isn't the Christian life worth a little bit of hardship? God bless you.